welcome to another episode of Pitch Point, brought to you by Media 3, the bite-sized videos of Web3 projects that get to the point. I'm your host, Max, co-founder of ADA Moments, the decentralized timeline on Cardano. Today, I'm speaking to Jaymeon from Yaadlabs. He will tell us about his Project Catalyst proposal to help the Cardano community connect with venture capital in Silicon Valley. All right, Jaymeon, thanks for being here to represent Yaadlabs. This is going to be a short, no-nonsense format where we maximize signal and minimize noise. So we start by giving you a 2-minute pitch, followed by about 8 to 10 minutes of questions. So let's dive into your pitch. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. To get right into the meat of the matter, as you know, you laid out.
I like that.
Yeah, man. So essentially, my name is Jaymeon Jones here on behalf of Yaadlabs Limited. We're a Web3 studio and agency that makes products using blockchain technology, and we help Caribbean creatives, companies, and countries do the same. This is all focused and geared towards Cardano. This is like our home base, so to speak. So everything that we're doing, from the technology that we're building from a product standpoint for the studio, it's all geared towards Cardano. And when we looked on board those demographics that were listed earlier, it's all for Cardano as well. Now, that being said, sometimes opportunities present themselves to get right into the pitch. To maybe start with the problem, first of all. So like if you're in and around the Cardano community, especially on Twitter or on X, you'd hear it constantly being hounded, constantly being said, especially from founders, from, startups on Cardano, that there are no VCs in the ecosystem, that, they're trying to pitch, people won't hear them out, or for whatever reason they're being refused, be it that the VCs see or ecosystem is too small, or from a sentiment standpoint, from what the cool kids over at Ethereum or Solana would have told them, and it just turned them off from the ecosystem. You'd hear those kinds of things said all the time. Now, that being said, like my company, we're an alumni of Draper University, the leading pre-accelerator in Silicon Valley, and one of the largest venture capital networks in the world. We thought, and especially like in light of what Catalyst did last round, introducing the partners and integrations section, we said that, hey, this is the perfect fit for a soft landing to onboard VCs that we know to Cardano. So here's the elevator pitch. We're partnering with Draper University to build out and lead on an 8-week pre-accelerator program for 20 of Cardano's most promising startups that leads into a demo day with their entire VC network. To give you guys color, Algorand did a similar workshop with them, or a similar pre-accelerator with them, and on demo day, 17.5 million USD was invested in those startups. So in short, Yaadlabs, in tandem with Draper University, is bringing this accelerator to Cardano, and that's the elevator pitch.
Okay. All right. We went a little bit over 2 minutes, but we'll forgive you that. You're working together with Draper University, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that? How are you linked to them exactly?
Yeah, for sure. So, and the reason why I guess we went over is because I wanted to give you guys color into
That's all good.
Yaadlabs Limited. Yeah. So Yaadlabs, we were looking for, VC funding ourselves. And, one of the best ways to do that, is to plug yourself inside those networks, inside those channels. And we had an opportunity to do a pre-accelerator that ended up in a demo day as well with Draper University. I think this was back probably in less than 6 months after we started the company. So in December of 2022. Now, my startup, while we did eventually get funded, we didn't get funded from that demo day. We ended up in the top 10 from the Caribbean, but unfortunately, we never got funding. But we kept the relationship. Draper University, they have an alumni network where they keep in close contact with, promising startups that have been through their accelerator. And not only that, they're very intentional. In fact, I'd encourage startup founders, because it's not only a good way to meet other founders, talk to VCs, but they have an international network of let's say co-working spaces, for want of a better term, where you can actually stay and use their facilities for free in a lot of cases. So they're very thoughtful about the value. So even after you've paid that one time, for example, which is what we did, that pre-accelerator. We paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and from that we just kept the link. We kept in touch. I've been telling him about Cardano for a long time, but
Sure.
they're mostly Bitcoin guys. Like Tim Draper is huge on Bitcoin.
Yeah, no,
But
I saw they actually on the Draper pitch show they had this bus travel app that was actually backed by Cardano in some way, or they had some loyalty program that was on top of Cardano. But so that's great. But just to understand for our viewers also clearly is that you are advocating raising funds to enable people to join Draper University, right, through the Cardano Catalyst program.
well, that and a bit more. So, all right, it's twofold. Like in terms of the problem that we're addressing something that we actually see founders say it themselves on the timeline that they want access to VCs, and this is a direct line to not only Draper's VCs but their associates as well. And the second problem being, the idea of incubating an ecosystem. So what happens sometimes is when you have an ecosystem that's, mind you, conjoined by a philosophy, right? There is still a sense of fragmentation in that, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. You might not have something, and I've seen Emergo starting to do this recently, something to tie founders together, one, and expose them to like learnings and knowledge, not only each other, but from experts in the industry, in the startup world, based in Silicon Valley, to kind of give them the things they need to de-risk their startups, which in turn helps the ecosystem. So A, to literally incubate the ecosystem, and B, to expose them to venture capital networks and hopefully get funded.
Okay, and can you tell a little bit about the man behind this message? So, what makes you the right person to make this connection between Draper University, apart from having pitched there? Why not make a direct line with Draper University, for example? Because I believe you're asking for, what was it, 200,000 ADA, or what exactly was your proposal?
Well, it's actually quite a bit more. So for context, everybody, this is in the Cardano partners and integrate real world and integration section, where you're allowed to ask for up to, I think it was 2 point little bit million ADA, or ask for 2 million ADA. So to give you context, like where those funds would go, and you can let me know if I answer your question.
Sure.
In over the next like probably 30 seconds. But yeah, it would be to pay for these startups to go to Silicon Valley in person at Draper University's headquarters in Silicon Valley, where a lot of the VCs and experts are. So that in itself is a pretty expensive endeavor. And we don't expect founders to pay for this themselves, is what we're trying to do with working through Catalyst. So everything from airfare to accommodation to transport to pocket money, and even compensation for the time being away from your startup and the time being away from your spouse and children. That's worked into a nice package of about 20,000 USD per founder. So that in itself takes up about 40% of the budget. There's the fee to Draper University, which is another 40%. Our fee for helping them with the onboarding, helping them with the technical delivery of the workshop, which works out to about 10-15%, and then the remainder, a small 5% fee for not fee, for contingency in the event that something comes up and we need to pay for it. But let me know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was my mistake indeed. It wasn't 200,000, it was 2 million ADA. But yeah, there's a lot of costs involved indeed with this entire operation. I think that's one of the points that I might want to get your ideas on. The problem you're trying to solve here is VC funding for Cardano-based startups. Is this the most effective use of the Cardano coffers? Can you give a little bit of insight into that?
Yes, and it's just now coming back to me. Forgive me. You were asking before if I was the right person to make this link, and to answer that directly, I believe so. And I mean, we've made it happen. It's not easy to get VCs involved with Cardano. Like if anybody in business development has spent any time trying to get like the major VC names involved in Cardano post 2021, it's been very difficult. For several reasons. Narrative size of opportunity and that kind of a thing. Sometimes when you have relationships with people, or when you find people with relationships with people, that's the best route at times to kind of get somebody's foot wet. That in tandem with the idea of a soft landing, and it was very appealing. And again, to maybe give you color, it's maybe even how we presented it too, because again, having context on Tim Draper, knowing that they like Bitcoin, we pitched Cardano. So there are similarities between our ecosystem and Bitcoin. Obviously, we share, UTXO models. That's one. And something interesting happened with the Valentine hard fork that opened the door for greater interoperability between ourselves and Bitcoin. Guys like Fluid Tokens and projects like Maestro, they've seen the opportunity and are starting to get ahead of it. And we think that we have a lot to offer that ecosystem, and obviously the liquidity from their ecosystem has a lot to offer us. So we kind of pitched it as, look, Cardano developers could also help to bring value to Bitcoin's ecosystem. So between the relationship, how we structured the pitch, Catalyst opening up that category, it was the perfect coming together to make something like this happen. Their mainstream VC is I think, honestly, there are hardly any venture capitalists with their kind of track record. So that's to answer your earlier question. Now, to answer your new question of if it's the best use of money for Cardano coffers. So in our opinion, it is, especially given that it's a challenge that they structured to be able to bring on something like this. And they only did it because, well, in my mind, because they saw where we were lacking. That whole category, and you guys can maybe look it up, like if you're here at home, just go into Cardano, Project Catalyst, or Idea Scale, Cardano Idea Scale, either one. Look up Fund 12 and the different categories and read into this specific one.
Sure.
Cardano partners.
Okay. Now I was more interested from hearing, different types of models of enabling VC spend into the Cardano ecosystem more than what's there on Catalyst. But I see your meaning, and I mean, what I could foresee is that it's important to create goodwill as well with VCs, right? The question there is the Silicon Valley VC space the place where the most goodwill will be generated in terms of bang for your buck, right? Or is that a saturated market with all kinds of blockchains and differing views? But that's a discussion for another time. This is my final question for you, Jaymeon. So it's going to be, what are 3 verifiable facts that people can find online that, you will be the ones to make this succeed, that the vision that you have set here. What can you say about that? That's something that I know many Catalyst voters are looking at, and also just investors in general. What would be the ones that you would point people at?
Well, I'd say to maybe look at like our past proposals. Not to say that like that's any clear indication of us being successful with Draper, but honestly, I believe we will. We've already have like a signed contract, and that sort of it's going to happen eventually. Like we're even working closely with the founding entities to see if there's an alternative, like outside of Catalyst, for us to be able to introduce this. Not saying that we've made much headway with that conversation. We're hoping to progress it even further, but I'd point to like how we've tackled funds in the past and like our projects in the past. We've been funded before. We've gotten the funding even as a company. Like we've been funded ourselves. So like we've interacted with VCs before successfully. Our company, again, like is a funded company, Development Bank of Jamaica, Aspire Fund Management Limited, and we've won Project Catalyst funding 3 times. What else would I say? I mean, look back, like go to my personal page, Jaymeon __Jones on Twitter. You'll see like I've been a part of the community for quite some time now. I'm very much affiliated, like, with like the things that, founders and the community are saying. I've even myself tweeted about it and thought of ways to try and help. And it's just so funny that, a way presented itself. So I think those 3 things is what I'd say.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much, Jaymeon from Yaadlabs.
Spot on. Thank you.